You think Airbnb AirCover is enough? Well, think again. Today, we're going to go over the 5 critical things you need to know about short-term rental insurance.
Hi, I'm Sarah Karakayan.
And I'm Annette Grant.
And together we are
Thanks for visiting.
We've been hosting for well over a decade,
Welcome tens of thousands of guests.
and earned thousands of 5-star reviews.
Our portfolio continues to bring in over $1.5 million year over year, and supported not only by the industry's leading brands, but also some of the biggest media outlets.
And we're here to help you with your furnished rental.
Number 1, AirCover is not your insurance.
Too many times, hosts are flabbergasted when Airbnb, after submitting a claim to AirCover, Airbnb says, sorry, we're actually not going to cover it this time, especially if you're an experienced host and you're like, well, you covered it last time this happened. Why are you not covering it this time? And like the nuanced reasons they give you can be very frustrating. So I think the important thing here to know is AirCover is not an insurance policy that's in your name.
And it even says on Airbnb's website, we were just pulling up, like, AirCover is not your personal insurance. So you need to have your own insurance policy for your property.
I'm glad they have AirCover. There have been many times where I don't have to reach out to my own insurance that has my name into it because AirCover has helped with the situation. That's been great. So we're not here to say that AirCover is like entirely terrible. All we're saying is that don't be shocked when they tell you to provide evidence and you feel like the evidence is like black and white, and they tell you to provide this, this, and that. You do all the things, and then they still tell you no. The problem that happens here is then hosts don't have their own insurance policy that actually covers them for the activity they're doing within the property, and they kind of get screwed.
And as we get deeper into the video, you're going to learn that guest damages are one of the lower ranking claims when it comes to short-term rentals. So there are a lot of things that can happen in your short-term rental that don't have anything to do with the guest that are actually the number one claim. We'll get into that later. And Airbnb is not going to help you at all on these other certain instances that happen in your home.
And one thing I know that I've never heard them cover before, and I looked on their page and didn't see it, but sometimes it takes them a while to reimburse you or takes them a while to get back to you about the claim. And in the meantime, you could be losing revenue if you're not able to continue offering your space up to future guests. They might cancel the guest stay without repercussion to you, but that lost revenue, they're not going to cover for you. So it's important for you to have your own commercial insurance that covers your property. It covers the business that's going on inside your property because you are exchanging money for a stay, and that covers lost business revenue too. It would be really helpful for us hosts, especially if you do this, if like the property is a full-time short-term rental. The number one fear when we ask people, like, what are you most afraid about? Or like, what's holding you back? And they're all terrified of parties or guest caused damage. And that's not impossible to happen. But actually, it's not the number one thing that happens inside of short-term rental when it comes to damages. It's water damage, wind damage, and structural damage. And AirCover will not help you if you have any of that type of damage.
And these are stats from short-term rental insurance companies. They see claims day after day after day. So again, we just want you to have that mindset shift of, are you covered? And this is really, really important too. Your normal homeowner's insurance, if you even whisper that there was a guest or that you're doing short-term rentals, they are going to deny these claims. So you need to make sure that you have short-term rental insurance. And so that is different than homeowner's insurance. It is also different than landlord insurance. So you want to make sure that you have short-term rental insurance that's covering these specific
Wind,
things.
water, structural.
Right. Against structural damage, protecting you against loss of business. Those right there, like, you want to take, hopefully you're taking some notes, you want to rewatch this, but those are the things you need to today, watch this video to the end, but then reach out to your insurance agent and make sure that you are covered on all of those things. Number 3, amenities can equal more bookings, but it also equals higher risk.
I feel like there's this like internal host industry competition going on right now. Who can offer the craziest amenities to get the guest to book with them? But the deal with that is I don't think we're thinking about, hey, am I going to be covered if like this person on my zip line like falls and hurts themselves? Or, hey, I'm offering bikes, like a simple bicycle.
I see everyone like, oh, kayaks for you, or off their dock, their pool, a hot tub. All of these things absolutely can draw more guests to your property, but it does increase the risk. And some insurance policies may need additional waivers signed. For example, who has went on vacation to a resort and you wanted to ride the free bikes at the resort? You know you had to sign a waiver before you got on that. Let's say you're down at the beach, someone's like doing like a parasol rental, anything like that. Everybody knows you're always checking that box for a waiver. And it's because their insurance requires it. And your insurance most likely requires it also. So anything around water, anything that moves, definitely want to check with your insurance provider. And here's the deal. You want to get ahead of this. So before you go and invest so much money in a potential amenity, reach out to your provider and find out, will you need a waiver? Is it going to increase your premium if you add that? You really need to think through all of these amenities that you could be adding.
If it's not explicitly listed in your policy, it's most likely excluded. So even if you've already gotten started and you offer an amenity, I would call your insurance provider, make sure they know that you're doing short-term rental activity, and say, hey, we offer kayaks, we have a swimming pool, and we offer inflatable toys, right?
Like they're probably going to tell you how to do that.
I would be very honest, because the last thing you want is to have a claim happen and then you be entirely responsible for making that issue right without the support of your insurance agency. Because it's not just sign the waiver. It could be safety signs. It could be the right equipment. It could be, they don't care if you have all those things. They're still not covering you. We got a really good tip from our insurance provider. And they're like, if it's not listed as an amenity on Airbnb, like it's not a box you can click on Airbnb, it's safe to say that most insurance companies who would cover a short-term rental host would not cover that activity.
Yeah, so I just to reiterate what Sarah said, a lot of these amenities, again, are going to need to come with proper signage, proper equipment, potentially fencing. So you really just can't think of the amenity itself. There's going to be layers to it.
It's called vicarious liability. So let's say, for example, on your listing, you're like, you should check out these trails, or like if you're at a glamping site and you tell them they should go to this awesome like cave, whatever, like anything that you might mention. It could be if you host an urban stay and you're like, go check out the beautiful park that's down the street. And while they're walking, they get bit by someone else's dog. Well, you told them to go to that park and enjoy a cup of coffee from your favorite coffee shop. There are instances where you could be held liable for vicarious liability. So you want to make sure that your insurance policy covers liability off of your premise. And so a lot of homeowner policies won't do that.
Yeah, so incidents off-site. So if you're marketing those, just really think through if that's part of how you're drawing people into your property, is marketing other experiences around that you could have either liability there.
You want to have your insurance provider go through your listing, like what you say, go through all of your photos, and make sure your photos aren't leaving anything out. I know that like a lot of times, like they'll like the companies that we're with are like, I see this handrail, I need to make sure that it's like fully like going around that corner, because they know International Building Code. They want to make sure that they can support us should we ever have like a slip, trip, and fall in our property. So it doesn't help you to hide from your insurance company something you're doing, because if the worst case happens, you don't want to be left by yourself.
It's a fun topic, but necessary.
Yeah. So let's say you have water damage, you have fire damage, and while your property is getting repaired, the repairs it needs to be livable, you're losing money.
You have to cancel reservations.
Yeah. What about paying your mortgage? You still have to pay your mortgage even when these things are getting fixed, but you don't have the income from renters. So you want to make sure your insurance policy can support you while these repairs are being made, that they will support you with that lost revenue during that time period.
So you're going to want to look for that lost income part of your policy. And this is one that, like, really just think about it. What's your busiest month? and just heaven forbid something happens during that month and you have to do a repair, not be able to welcome guests, you really want to make sure that you have that on your policy.
So short-term rental insurance claims aren't just about damage. It's about protecting your business. It's about protecting your revenue. It's about protecting your future so that you're not stripped dry of everything you've saved from the revenue that you've gotten from your short-term rental. And then you're left high and dry. It's about being able to recoup what you're losing while you're repairing the property. It's about having them be a partner and knowing exactly what you're doing and supporting everything about it and making sure you're good to go. So if the worst thing happens, that's the last thing you have to worry about. You know your insurance company is going to be there to support you.
And we want to share, we know that the first time you get your quotes back on what commercial insurance, short-term rental insurance will be,
It's not the same.
it is going to be more of an investment than your normal homeowners or landlord. Be prepared for that. But you heard what Sarah just said. This is not only protecting the home, it's now protecting your business. So there is going to be a larger investment. And we just hear hosts that, they're like, oh, they want to skimp on this. They're like, oh, it's just so much money. And it's like, you have to really go through the risk. And we've heard some of those stories from hosts that were a little too risky and they didn't get the coverage that they needed and they've been paying for it. So we just want to warn you, we know that this is going to be more of an investment that you're used to, but it's going to be worth it. So we just want to prep you for that.
Let us know in the comments below if you plan on calling your insurance provider and going through all the points that you took notes during today's video and making sure that you're covered with your current insurance, or if you're a new host, what questions you have for for the different insurance companies that you're going to interview. And if you want to continue the education, you want to check out our video about how to leave a negative review for a negative guest. This whole platform is built on trust, and we want to make sure that we're being helpful to host, that you're being honest about that guest experience. And with that, I am Sarah Carrican.
I'm Annette Grant, and together we are. Thanks for visiting. We'll put a link in the show notes of who we use for our short-term rental insurance if you want to check them out.